right, guys. The San Antonio Spurs get their first win of the 2026 NBA Finals, and they definitely just made this series a lot more interesting. So, today, I'm just going to give my take and reaction to the NBA Finals Game 3 last night between the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to share what I liked, what I didn't like, and what I think is going to happen the rest of the series. So, we got some good stuff to talk about. Before we jump into all of that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Also, hit that like button and make some comments on what you thought of the NBA Finals Game 3 and your prediction for the rest of the finals. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. The San Antonio Spurs defeated the New York Knicks 115 to 111 in Game 3 of the 2026 NBA Finals last night, Monday, June 8th, 2026, at Madison Square Garden. And this was a crucial road victory that snapped the New York Knicks' historic 13-game playoff winning streak and cut the Knicks series lead to 2-1. So big game 3 in the NBA Finals. The first two games were in San Antonio. Knicks stole both of those games. And now the series shifted to New York City for games 3 and 4. And I was definitely curious how things were going to play out in game 3. I was wondering if the New York Knicks were just going to dominate and take a 3-0 series lead and basically essentially clinch the championship, or if the Spurs would come out with a monster game and make things more interesting. And it was definitely the latter of those two. The Spurs get that big win and they make this series very interesting. So, just before the game, the atmosphere was just crazy and amazing in Madison Square Garden. It was packed. The tickets were very expensive, but nonetheless, it was sold out. It was very loud. You had celebrities from all walks of life watching the game. So it was just really a historic atmosphere watching it on TV. And it was probably the biggest New York Knicks game in a very long time. So just an amazing build up before the game, amazing atmosphere, and the game definitely did not disappoint. Well, it was disappointing if you're a New York Knicks fan at the end, but it was still a good game to watch. So just some game summary by each quarter. So in the first quarter, the Spurs, as usual, they jumped out to an early double-digit lead, um, fueled by their young core, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and Vassell. And in the second quarter, well, just the first quarter, the Spurs had an 11-point lead, 33-22. They were very impressive, and usually the Spurs have a really good first quarter. So I wasn't surprised by that. I was just thinking that the Knicks just needed to weather that storm and that they would be okay the rest of the game. And that's kind of what happened in the second quarter. The New York offense caught fire, opening the frame with an 8-0 run, led by OG Anunoby's 17 first half points and Jalen Brunson's 10-point quarter. And the Knicks closed the half on a 10-1 run, which led to a 64-57 lead at halftime. So in the second quarter, the Spurs cooled off a little bit. The Knicks caught fire. And before you know it, at halftime, the Knicks had a 7-point lead. And I was thinking that after that monster first quarter that the Spurs had, I was very, very impressed that the Knicks had a 7-point lead going into half. Um, so I think things were looking really good for the Knicks at that point. We get to the third quarter. The San Antonio Spurs regrouped at the break. They scored 15 points on their first 8 possessions to tie the game 76-76. Seven different Spurs players scored in the quarter, allowing San Antonio to reclaim a 92-91 lead heading into the final period. So the third quarter went to the Spurs, and even with that, the game was still very close, 92-91. So we're heading into the fourth quarter. It's a 1-point game. Are the Knicks gonna have another amazing fourth quarter and take a 3-0 series lead, or are the Spurs gonna get their first win of the series? And in the fourth quarter, the Spurs locked down defensively, holding the Knicks scoreless in the first 3.5 minutes of the quarter. And in crunch time, Stephon Castle hit a massive 26-foot three-pointer as the shot clock expired to make it 111-104. Aaron Fox then hit a 15-foot step-back jumper with 12.2 seconds left. And Castle sealed the 115-111 win at the free throw line. So the Spurs show up in the fourth quarter. They play really good defense on the Knicks. The Knicks scored only 20 points, and the Spurs survive and get the 4-point win. So really, really good game to watch. I'm rooting for the New York Knicks, so I definitely wanted them to win, take a 3-0 series lead, which would essentially be the series. But the Spurs get their first win. The series is 2-1, and we definitely have a good series going forward. So just some of the players. So for the Spurs, Wemby had 32 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 blocks. So he had a really good game. He scored a lot of points in the paint. He wasn't just roaming like on the 3-point line. He was catching lobs. He was dunking. So it was a really, really good Wembanyama game. He played like a 7.5-foot player should play. He made some nice 3-pointers as well. So one of Wemby's better games for sure. And he's the main reason that the Spurs won this game. Stephon Castle had a pretty good game, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And De'Aaron Fox had 12 points in the game. And for the New York Knicks, Josh Hart, he had a really good game. He had 16 points. He went 4 for 7 from the 3-point line. Jordan Clarkson came off the bench, hit some big shots, had 10 points for the Knicks. So these two guys stepped up in this game. Jalen Brunson, 32 points. So he definitely showed up in this game. OG Anunoby, 28 points. And Karl Anthony Towns, this was one of his weaker games. He only had 11 points, and he just didn't match Wemby in this game the way that he did in games 1 and 2. So, all right. So that's pretty much the breakdown of game 3. So we got game 4 on Wednesday, tomorrow night. Again, it's in New York City. The crowd is going to be amazing again. They're going to be crazy, loud. So, should be an amazing atmosphere again. My expectation is that the New York Knicks are going to play a lot better in game 4. It's really a must win for the Knicks. They don't want to lose this game and have the series be tied 2-2 with the last 3 games, with 2 of them being in San Antonio. So, in my opinion, game 4 is a must win for the New York Knicks. They let this game 3 slip for them, but game 4, they got to come out aggressively. They got to be the more desperate team. Karl Anthony Towns has to play a lot better. Jalen Brunson has to be a little more efficient. And all the other guys for the Knicks have to step up and play a lot better in game 4. And that's kind of what I expect to happen. I expect the Knicks to win this game. Um, and honestly, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a double digit win by the Knicks just because I do think they're better. I do think this is a must win for them. I think they're going to be more desperate. And I expect a win. Also, Mikal Bridges, he didn't have the best game 3. I think he's going to be a lot better in game 4. And he has to be for the Knicks to win the game. So we'll see what happens. If the Spurs win game 4 and the series is tied 2-2, then game 5 is in San Antonio. Game 6 is in New York. Game 7 would be in San Antonio. I would be very worried as a Knicks fan with those last 3 games, two out of 3 being in San Antonio. I would be very worried as a Knicks fan. So that's why I think game 4 is so critical. We want to have a 3-1 lead going into San Antonio. And I think with that, the New York Knicks should be fine. So huge game 4 in New York City. We'll see what happens. The Knicks should have a lot better game. They have to win this game. We'll see if the Spurs shock the world and tie up the series. So can't wait to watch game 4. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if the series is going 2-2 to San Antonio or 3-1 for the Knicks heading to San Antonio. All right, guys, that's all I wanted to share as far as my reaction to NBA Finals Game 3. I really hope you enjoyed the video and got some value out of the content. If you did, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. Hit that like button and make some comments.